Okay, perfect. All right. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting, specifically the time, date, and public call and information were included in the meeting that was electronically sent to the Echo Sentinel and posted on the Township website. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at www.longhillnj.gov. A public comment period will be held in the orders listed on the meeting agenda. When the mayor opens up the public comment portion, if you're using a computer and would like to add a public comment, please raise your hand. To raise your hand, click the participants button on the bar located on the bottom of your screen. Once the bar pops up, scroll to the right and there will be an option to raise hand. If you're dialing in and would like to make a public comment, press *9 when the mayor opens up public comment.
Thank you, Megan. So at this point, I'd like to open up the April 14th meeting of the Township of Long Hill at 7:35. Would everybody please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty
and
justice
justice for all.
for all. Thank you, everyone. Megan, would you please take roll?
Committeeman Dorsey. Committeeman Lavender.
Present.
Committeeman Verleza.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Ray. Deputy Mayor Ray.
Sorry, Megan, I was muted. Present.
Mayor Pasurcia.
Present. So if we could start off the meeting, we're going to have a presentation from Anthology regarding a property on Valley Road. And I'm going to let Jason Tuval, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
It's Tuval, but that's fine.
Tuval. All right. So Tuval is going to present along with several of his colleagues. I'm going to defer to Jason to introduce his colleagues and consultants in the order that he wishes. And if I could, I'll turn the meeting over to you, Jason.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate you having us here to make this presentation. As you indicated, this is a presentation for an anthology at Sterling. Also, March Development is involved. The property is 1102 Valley Road. It's an existing car wash. And our goal here is to show you and the public as well a proposed redevelopment of the site into an assisted living facility. The assisted living facility would be 3 stories at its highest point, but at the closest point along Valley Road, it would be 2 stories. It would be approximately a 35,000 square foot footprint. With me this evening, I have Anthony Marchigano, who's the representative of the developer, Chris Russ, who's the operator of would be the operator of the facility, Bill Foster, who's the project architect, and Tom Muller, who's the project civil engineer. So our goal this evening, everyone, was to go through a conceptual plan that we prepared, to tell you a little bit about the operations of the facility, and then talk about next steps in terms of procedurally. And our goal would be to have, if the council were to be okay with the project, or the governing body, to do a redevelopment plan for this facility. So what I'd like to start out with is to have Mr. Marchigano, Anthony Marchigano, share his screen, if that's okay, and walk everyone through the project. And obviously we have the operator here, we have the architect and engineer here if there's any technical questions, but I'd like Anthony to go through it from more of a high level perspective first, and then we can get into details if that's what everybody would like. So Anthony, you want to get started with the presentation?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Anthony Marchigano. I am a principal in March Development. We are a New Jersey-based commercial real estate company. We operate in a bunch of different asset classes, multifamily housing, self-storage, logistical warehouse, and senior housing. For this project, we are partnered with a group called CA Ventures that has a senior housing brand called Anthology. I can let Chris Russ, who's the representative of the operator, give you guys just a quick download of CA Ventures and Anthology, just to kind of make that quick introduction, and then we'll get on through the actual presentation.
That's great. Thanks, Anthony. Yeah, so I'm Chris Russ. I'm with Anthology Senior Living, and we are under the CA Ventures umbrella. They're a much larger real estate investment company in a number of different sectors. But Anthology Senior Living, we've been around for about 8 years now. We operate 28 properties now across the country. The closest to here would probably be in Connecticut. We have a couple near Hartford, and then down near Philadelphia. And we've been looking at this market, trying to find the right piece of property for some time, because we know the demand and the demographics are there. So we're very excited about partnering with March on this development to move forward. We operate independent living, assisted living, and memory care communities in a number of different setups and configurations. So that's just kind of a brief intro to Anthology. Please check out our website as well. You can see our history and what we offer there. But I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, Chris, I think what we'll do is after Anthony goes through the plan, maybe I'll have you go through some of just the operational characteristics of the property after Anthony goes through the plans, okay?
Sure.
Okay, thanks, guys. So what you guys are looking at in the first slide here is just sort of an aerial view of the site in question, which, as we said, was 1106-1122 Valley Road. It was a former hand car wash, and there was a small, it's now vacant retail building, I guess, both of which have been vacant for some time. As I said, we're New Jersey based, but we're not just New Jersey based. I live in Chatham, so I'm in this area pretty frequently. We've driven past this property since I've lived in Chatham, so it's going on 6-7 years, and all that time I don't really remember there being anything active on this site. Just to vector you guys in, page kind of bottom right is the grocery store. Page sort of just north of where we're looking right here is the larger retail center with I think there's a Marshall's, a TJ Maxx, a Bonji Bowl, all kinds of other things in there as well. So the site that we're looking at, 1102, which is actually, it's 1106 through 1122, is about 5.6 acres. The front, probably 2.5-3 acres are all uplands. The back half of the property, measuring about 2 acres, is wetlands. So we have to steer clear of that. I assume just by looking at this, everyone's more or less familiar and vectored in with the property. Okay.
Yes.
So this is just a picture of existing conditions, just to give you guys just an idea of where this property is and what the current state is, if you haven't driven by it recently. And then this is an overhead aerial of the concept plan for the project. So as Jason alluded to or mentioned earlier, we understood from initial conversations that height was of importance to the town, and we wanted to do whatever we possibly could to mitigate the visual impact from Valley of the site. So with that in mind, we designed the property or the project to appear as if it's a 2-story structure, which will be relevant, which will be obvious in the renderings that we'll show in just a moment. But the frontage of the property will be 2 stories. It would then have what we would call like a cake top, meaning that there would be a 3rd floor set further back off the frontage of the building, making it, not very visible from the valley frontage. North of the property, we've got a pretty significant vegetative buffer. Page left on this, I would be concerned trying to get from this property to something habitable. It's pretty dense, pretty thick vegetation. And then to the south of us is the Elks Club. In the frontage along Valley, the high point of the structure, the 2-story level, would be 32 feet 3 inches. I think, as Jason mentioned, the overall footprint will be about 35,000 square feet. And at the high point of the 3rd story, we'll be at about 43.3 feet. So what you're looking at here is sort of our first pass at a conceptual rendering of the project. We took a stab at it, candidly. I think we're happy with the way it currently looks, but it's by no means a finished product at this point. So a couple different materials are employed here. I think it's an overall nice look. We tried finding some architectural inspiration, looking at other buildings in town. I can't say that we found like one strong identity, but we tried to make sure that the building did not register too modern, but yet still looking contemporary and fresh. The facade materials are a mix of stone, some fiber cement, some standing seam metal roof, some stacked stone, and again, we did our best to try to make it congruent with what we believe is the architecture of the town, but obviously a large portion of the reason that we're having this meeting is to kind of get some feedback on the facade design.
All right, Luke, or Anthony, if you don't mind, can you just go back to the site plan?
Mhm.
Just some things that I think maybe
Yep.
everyone would find to be important just to know. So you do have some just recreation or outdoor space for the people who would be living here. Can you just give like a little overview of that?
Sure. So the property is basically set up, as we said, 2 stories in the front, and then as you kind of work your way around the building, it goes to 3. Those white lines that you're seeing are courtyards that have walking paths sort of integrated into the landscape architecture. We have a landscape architect engaged at this point who's going to kind of further define this plan, but as it currently sits right now, there's a fair amount of outdoor space, and we are working to sort of take advantage of the fact that the back end of the property is wetlands, but it also is quite nice to look at. So we're going to try to maximize views from that as well.
And just with the wetlands, do you have a letter of interpretation from the DEP just delineating those, just understanding where the buffers are?
Yeah, we do. Yep.
Okay. And then in terms of the parking, which I'm assuming everybody would have questions about, just where there's 58 spaces?
Yep.
All right, and that complies with the RSIS, with the residential site improvement standards for this type of use, right?
It does, yeah. So RSI standards for an assisted living facility, same as this, would be 0.5 spaces per unit or per bed. In this instance, we're technically over parking it based on RSI standards. Operationally, I can let Chris talk a little bit about the parking, but we are not a parking intensive use.
All right, and then where would the deliveries take place, to the facility? Not that it's so frequent, but when they do occur, where would that happen?
Yeah, so we do get deliveries. Again, Chris, you can nod up and down if this is correct, if I'm speaking correctly, but 2 to 3 times a week, would you say that's pretty
Yes,
standard?
that's accurate.
So with that, we were mindful not to want to have loading and unloading on the frontage. So we had designed this concept to have the loading, if you can sort of vector in on the concept there, it'll be hidden from view from Valley, but it's basically top of building behind that 2-story label there that you see. So none of that would be visible from Valley.
All right, and you'd be cleaning up the curb cuts along Valley. Right now, there's several curb cuts. It would be consolidated into one, right?
Yes, and we would like to line it up with the existing curb cut across the street, just to kind of improve the traffic safety there.
All right, and from a traffic perspective, there's the trips. I know you're not a traffic engineer. We can always get into this if everybody would like in terms of more detail, but just from a intensity standpoint, this is a low intensity trip generator, right?
It is. I actually have the RSI standards. I pulled those in anticipation of this meeting. For a facility of this size, peak hour is 13 enters and 8 exits.
Right, and that's ITE, right, Luke?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did you have anything else to add? I wanted maybe Chris to go through some of the operational characteristics for everybody.
Do you want to do it on the concept, or do you want to go through the renderings and then work to that?
I think the concept is fine, and we could always go to the rendering if
Okay.
someone has
Sure.
a question. So Chris, can you just give an overview of the type of facility, the type of care that's provided here, the types of individuals that typically would use it? I think that would be helpful for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So we're proposing operating assisted living and memory care at this community. So you would walk in, the way this building would be structured, then you would come into the front kind of grand lobby area where you would check in. That would be the only entrance, open entrance and exit to the building. And then the majority of that first floor would be comprised of the back of house where you see the loading is. And then really the whole back wing would probably be the memory care wing, is what we're planning right now. Having that there on the first floor, which will be a locked down wing as it is. It'll be licensed with the state as that's required. Those are memory care, as you know, is really dementia related residents will be there. And then the upper 2 stories will be assisted living. Those folks are folks that just need really just the definitions there, assistance with everyday living. That's helping with changing clothes, helping with bathing, medication, obviously meals. We'll provide meals. All their meals are included with their stay here. This is a month-to-month rental, a private pay only. So this isn't a buy-in type setup at this type of facility. Amenity-wise, we have a number of amenities throughout the building between just kind of passive amenities like lounges and libraries, but also, theater, fitness, game room, that sort of thing. Really trying to keep the residents, active. It's all about getting them out of their units and into these active spaces. So those amenities play a big role in that as we focus on the wellness aspect of their care. And then, of course, the outdoor courtyards that we walk through as well. I think that's kind of a general overview. I kind of bumped around there, but just if you have any questions.
So Chris, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jason, if you don't mind, I don't know if we can at least open it up to the township committee members for some questions rather than go too far into this.
Yeah, however you want, whenever you'd like to.
I have several myself, but I'd rather go in order. So Brendan, did you want to kick off any questions or comments?
No, not right now.
Okay, Scott?
Yeah, I think folks would like to know how many residents and how many workers capacity.
Sure. So right now it's spec'd, the property of the concept is laid out 100 rooms, of which, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, about 10% would be 2 bedrooms.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a total of 110 residents, 100 rooms, and about 70 some odd employees, 76, give or take, employees.
How many employees though on at a time? I would assume those are shifts.
Correct. It's a 24-hour facility. So peak hours, we're talking somewhere between 25 to 30 employees on at any given time.
Okay. And what capacity did these generally operate at in terms of occupancy? 80%?
In terms of occupancy, no, the majority of our portfolio is in the upper 90s, mid 90 percentile.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'd certainly be working towards that.
And Chris, you evaluated the need for this in this area, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Just to give everybody an idea, we look at the 8-minute drive time is how we model for these types of projects. And yeah, the demand is just quite frankly screaming here really for it. So we're excited.
Scott, any more?
No, keep going. I'll let the others.
Checked off a couple of my questions, so thank you. Vic? You're on mute, buddy.
That better?
Yep.
Can we just get a brief description of what type of services are offered? A little bit of a detailed description of what type of this facility this will be, what kind of services will be offered, that type of thing.
We can't hear, I can't hear you, Vic.
Yeah, you broke up there, Vic.
Vic, would you mind if I tried to reiterate your question? I think I got most of it, and just not if it.
You did. All right. So why was that Jason? You said you can.
Yeah, I think it was Anthony, but what I took from that was if maybe Chris could go through some of the services that are provided at the facility for the residents. That I think that's what I heard.
That's what I think I heard too. Yeah, sure. Yes, definitely. So we have 24-hour nurse on staff as needed. We do medication management. We have physical therapy. We have our fitness room, and typically we'll rent that space and have a physical therapist in that space as well with our residents. Then of course the dining aspect, we offer 3 meals a day. To all of these residents. We'll have separate dining rooms, of course. The assisted living dining room will be upstairs somewhere, likely on the front, looking at those great views, or on the back with the great views. And then we'll usually have a grab and go type food available as well. And then, of course, the activity side of everything. There are multiple activities. We have an activity director on staff full time, and they'll have activities planned every day throughout the day.
Chris, just because I had this question when we initially spoke, there's no medical procedures that occur on the property, right?
That's correct. No, not at all.
Okay.
And transportation for the seniors that live there?
Yes, we will have a shuttle bus that will park on site, and they'll take folks to different activities, and then also take folks to doctor's appointments as needed.
Also, what type of income would you describe these units as? Would they be luxury, high income, moderate income, low income?
I would describe it moderate to high. Not certainly not the top, but not quite the middle.
Will there be an affordable housing component, and will it count towards the township's COA obligation?
Yes, there 10% of the units will be set aside for COA. I want to say definitively, as long as you guys do not have other age-restricted affordable housing in town, that you've already met the quota, it will count towards your COA requirement.
I have a quick question. 2 things. One, you might have covered this. Are all the units solo, or if a couple moves in, can they stay as a couple, or are they all solo units?
90% of the units are solo, about 10% are set aside for 2 bedrooms for a
All
couple.
right. Now, my next question is, if I'm looking at your rendering right now, on the top along Valley Road, there's those 2 trees that are closest to Valley Road. No, the one you had up before that. The one
Yes.
with the rendering. Right approximately there right now, there's a huge raised manhole cover. Is there anything you guys can do with that?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, as a result of everything. I mean, look, the entirety of the property we're looking to improve, enhance. We're going to enhance the landscaping pretty significantly along Valley. In regard to the manhole cover, I think I know the one that you're speaking of.
It's raised, it's raised up concrete. It's probably about 2.5, 3 feet up from the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at all new site lighting, all new. I think yes, I'm not. I think I know what you're talking about, and if I'm correct, then yes, we.
Okay, and the last question, Cliff, there's going to be a sidewalk in front of it along Valley Road?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thanks. So, and thanks everyone, because you asked a few of the questions I was going to ask, but here's some random ones. I forget who referenced peak hours. It's I don't know, like 12 cars in, 8 cars out. What are considered peak hours? What times?
Let me pull it up for you just so I can speak intelligently on this. So AM peak hour is 8 a.m. To 9, and that is 13 cars in, 8 cars out.
13 in, okay.
Yep. PM peak is 5 to 6, and that is 11 cars in, 18 cars out.
Gotcha.
So those are shift changes probably, right?
They are correct.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Scott?
Those are shift changes for the work.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that question. So embedded in these numbers are also visitors, I would think?
Yes, they are.
Okay. I know this is just a rendering, but one thing we like to do in town is any development along Valley Road is to put in sidewalks. I don't necessarily see them now. Is that something you would be open to?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Average length of stay, because you said there's no requirement. You're not renting it for, a 2-year lease or a 1-year lease. What do you consider an average length of stay?
Probably about 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay, so even though it's not a 1-year lease or a 2-year lease, typically your residents stay for 3 years, 2.5 years kind of thing.
Exactly, until they either have to get transferred or something else.
Understood. And this is a question, I think, really for one of our, for Deputy Mayor Ray. From a fire perspective, just looking at this, do you have any concerns in being able to access any of the parts of the building?
On this rendering, everything looks, as though it's accessible for sure. But, obviously the fire official, whenever, we see, better plans, will be able to ascertain that. But certainly on this, there seems to be, there seems to be adequate means to access.
I'm not a firefighter, as you well know. How would your department get to the back of this building? And again, I know it's hard to say, we have to get the fire official, etc. Like, how would a truck get back there?
I mean, you probably couldn't put a truck back there. The way things are, it looks like there's greenery. So, things at the back, we would just have to, you'd have to access them on foot.
But that's not uncommon?
No, I mean, they're, it's not ideal, but it's not, I think, everything's, whenever you look at how things are set up, everything's, it's certainly acceptable.
Okay.
If you guys wouldn't mind, I just wanted to speak to that quickly.
Okay.
So our buildings are steel construction and they're fully sprinkled buildings. So we obviously are extremely cognizant of being compliant with New Jersey State Code, Fire Code for these type of facilities because they're assisted living facilities. So again, all these buildings are fully sprinkled. They're non-combustible. In addition, we would work with the fire code officials if stabilized turf needed to be installed to get fire trucks a little bit closer towards the back of the building. It's something we can certainly work through.
Yeah.
Perfect. That answers my question. And I've run out of questions, so I don't know if you want to continue or how should we proceed at this point?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, I'd ask, counsel for the township, to see if he agrees with me, but we like to do this as a redevelopment project. So, the municipality would have to authorize the planning board to undertake an investigation to determine if it met the criteria under the local redevelopment and housing law. And, obviously the planning board would have to undertake that and see if it met the criteria. And assuming that it did and the board and the township committee agreed, then the next step would be, doing a redevelopment plan to incorporate the zoning for this property. As this is not a permitted use on the site right now, it would have to be done by redevelopment plan. I don't know, Jack, if you want to weigh in on that.
Yeah, no, that's certainly the process. And obviously the decision is not going to be made tonight, but the township committee will consult with the township planner and obviously be in touch with you guys to see how we go forward.
Yeah, so if the township committee so wishes, and make that, as Jack said, makes that decision, you would have to undertake an investigation, and that would be done through the planning board. Your planner would investigate the site, prepare a report. I'm sure you know the process, but I'm just reiterating.
Could I ask a question? Jason, you said you would like to do it through redevelopment. Is that a necessary step?
Yeah, I'll ask Anthony to go through that. But yeah, Anthony, can you explain why doing it through redevelopment is necessary? I can say from a legal perspective, but can you say from the applicant's perspective why that's important?
Sure. So, the full process to get this to in the event that we did not go redevelopment, to get it to the zoning board, we'd probably be looking something in the magnitude of $300,000 or $400,000 in due diligence and soft costs to get us to that point. Unfortunately, in the state of New Jersey, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, but as a developer, it's unfortunately when you go to the zoning board, you're sort of at the mercy not just of the zoning board, but also of the public. You know, New Jersey puts a lot of power into an individual's hands that if 99 of your residents love the project and one does not, that one can derail the entire project if you're at the zoning board looking for a use variance. So if you'll
I think,
please- Yep.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I can't see, I just see a snowman there, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your
No, it's
discussion.
okay.
I was just gonna say, I think the other way we could proceed, and we can talk about this, if we don't go the redevelopment route, if the township committee wishes to proceed, is to do an overlay zone. If there is an affordable housing component, it seems to me we could do it the same way we've dealt with several other affordable housing sites and have an overlay zone, which would permit this use with a certain definitive set aside, in which case it would still go to the planning board. But again, that's not going to be decided tonight. I just throw that out there.
Yeah, Jack, one thing I do want to speak on a little bit. So we're carrying a pretty large property tax rateable for the town and for this project.
Mhm.
We're carrying something in the nature of $450,000 to $500,000 a year. We hope that that's a safe number, but we've been surprised before. So the only thing I would say to the overlay zone versus redevelopment, we would want to probably sit down and talk to the tax assessor to see sort of what range this is going to fall in from a property tax perspective.
Yeah.
If it does fall in line with what our projections are, then certainly an overlay zone works. If it's, you know, much above and beyond that rateable number, which again is a healthy number, then we do need to discuss just how we get comfortable with the property taxes.
Yeah, I'm not recommending that. I'm just throwing that out there as an
Yeah,
option.
I mean, what we're trying to say is that if the property tax bill necessitates a pilot in order to build the project, then we would have to go the route of redevelopment as opposed
Yeah.
to.
And Jay, the only thing I'll
Understood.
say on top of that, though, is that we wouldn't necessarily be looking for like a statutory minimum. That's not what this is. We just need some tax certainty to understand what we've been pleasantly surprised a few times, but more often than not, it goes the other
I'm
direction.
pleasantly surprised. Yep,
Yep.
we can talk about all that.
Yeah, and Jack as well, if the township is, wants to proceed to the next step, we can provide you with, we could have our civil engineer do a site plan with all the zoning requirements that would be there, the coverages, the setbacks, the building heights.
Mhm.
So you would have that, and you and your, the boards and the township's professionals can review all that as well.
Yep, no, thank you.
Jason, one other thing I would like to mention too, that even though we are looking to change the zoning on this property, we were conscious of what the existing bulk standards were for this zone that the property currently is. So we are under the impervious coverage, we're under on building coverage. The only place, like I said, that we're above, which is the current zoning is 35 feet. We obviously exceeded that by going to 43 feet at the 3-story portion of the building, but again, did try to mitigate the visual impact by staying 2 stories up on the frontage there.
Okay, thanks.
So, just a quick follow-up question. What metrics did you use to come up with the 450 to 500,000 number? What is it specific to Long Hill, or towns that look like Long Hill? Your other properties in other states?
No, so we pulled comps of the 6 closest assisted living facilities that were the same size, and basically averaged them out. I know that's not hyper scientific, but it was just how we basically budgeted for it at this point.
Because there are assisted living facilities in several towns around us, so I imagine you're talking about towns that are near Long Hill, not.
Sure.
Connecticut.
I believe Warren was one of them.
Yep.
Madison had one as well.
Yep.
Baskin Ridge across from Dewey Meadow.
Yeah, I honestly, I can't remember exactly what the comp set was. I don't know if the new facility in Summit, the Sunrise facility, was included in that comp or not. But we didn't just pick a number out of the air, but at the same time, we've gotten comments back from our tax consultants that opine on these things when we're putting models together, and they're just saying, look, we can give you a best guess, but you need to have a conversation with the tax
No,
assessor.
I fully appreciate your comment that you would want to have a comfortable range of tax certainty. Obviously, that's critical. So I
think oftentimes, developers go in and just automatically say, we need a pilot, we need a pilot, we need a pilot. Look, pilot can be a dirty word in New Jersey. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the times people don't quite understand that 95% of it is still ending up at the town as opposed to, a large portion of it ending up at the county. But again, we're not saying that we definitely do need a pilot. We're just saying we want to reserve right until.
Just to
Yep.
put it in context for you, I don't think this committee looks at, or even the township itself, at a pilot as a dirty word used correctly. I think it makes perfect sense.
Yep.
But I would point out that Long Hill has never, we certainly don't have an existing pilot, so I don't want to say never used one. But we don't have any existing ones. So this is a little bit of new ground, although we have considered them in the past.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
I don't want
I
you to
mean-
think we're country bumpkins, but unlike, say, some of the surrounding towns, I know Warren has done several. Berkeley Heights has, I don't know, 7 of them in process as we speak. So,
Yeah, I
But the ones
mean,
in Long Hill
again,
weren't rejected because of the pilot per se.
say that again,
I'm
Jack.
sorry.
The pilots that were discussed in the past in Long Hill weren't rejected because of the pilot per se. It was
Right.
more the underlying projects.
Yeah, so look, we will work with the town and try to get some idea of where it would come in under normal ad valorem. And like I said, we're not coming in saying we need a 10% or something like that. That doesn't really work. What we really need is tax certainty, just to understand what we're budgeting here is correct. And if it's not, how do we work through that? So open to both options, overlay or redevelopment. But I'm asking as kindly as I possibly can, imploring you guys, please do not make us go to the zoning board. It just leaves way too much to chance, and we avoid going to the zoning board at all costs if we can.
Anthony, I have another question. Speaking of property taxes, do you have any idea what the current property taxes are on that property?
Yeah, I believe the current owner, Bruce Dorsey, mentioned it to me. I want to say it's like plus or minus 40,000.
So right now they're paying about 40 grand and you guys are going to be paying obviously 10 times that approximately.
At minimum 10 times that, yes.
Thank you.
Can, I think the public would also like to see your renderings, but if you can first show the existing property so we can compare and contrast, that would be helpful.
Sure.
So that's what we have right now.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
So, the property has a ton of potential from an aesthetic standpoint. We are going to heavily landscape this. We would like to see a curb go in the frontage. I think will be a huge improvement to move from what I think is now 4 or 5 separate egresses down to a consolidated one. I think that will also help with traffic safety a little bit as well. Like I said, I drive this road frequently. I was on the site today. Look, we are very concerned or cognizant of the type of product that we're building. We want to be good partners with the town. We want to work collaboratively with the town. I think in the previous presentation I gave to some of the members that were on here, we're willing to work as collaboratively as the town is. I think that there's probably a line where I think we were advised not to get too far into the weeds with that, but we'll have as many community meetings as asked.
And can you show your renderings? The next one, yeah, there we go. You had a sunset one too.
Yep, we have a nighttime one. Yep. So we'll also work with a lighting consultant to ensure that there's no light spillage from the site. We're going to think everything through on this project. We promise that.
So, thank you very much. I think the presentation was quite clear. What would you need from us at this point? Jack, or how should we proceed?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I'll leave it to Jack, but, we would need direction, and we can meet with the tax assessor, obviously, as soon as possible, but we would want some direction as to the way the township would like to go, if they would look favorably upon this in terms of redevelopment or overlay, how the township wanted to proceed.
Yeah, I think tonight, probably the preliminary step is to see whether there's interest on the part of the township committee with going forward. If there is, then I think we should sit down with the township planner and reach out to Jason and his clients to get to the next step, to discuss whether we want to go the redevelopment route or the overlay zone. One advantage to redevelopment is the township would have a lot more input into the design and the aesthetics of the project. But I think tonight you need to decide whether there's interest in going forward.
Okay, so I mean, is it appropriate then just to take like a straw poll of the
Yes.
committee members?
Yeah, it's not binding in any way. It's just a consensus as to whether this is worth pursuing.
Okay, so why don't we just do it in the order that at least appears on my screen? I don't know if that's what people at home see. Brendan, you're on top.
Okay, I'll start. Yeah, no, I think this is, I think this is a great project, and I'd certainly be in favor of taking the next steps with it.
Scott?
Well, having just made decisions for assisted living in our family, I'm familiar with everything that you're talking about here. Operationally, it's right on the money. I love the idea. I love the improvement to the property and the ratables that'll come to the town. So if it works, that'd be great. So I'm in favor of moving forward.
Thank you, Scott. Vic?
I'm in favor of the project. I think there's a need. I think it's a smart rateable. It's definitely a huge aesthetic improvement. I'm in favor of moving forward to the next step also.
Well said, Vic. Matt, I don't know, are you, I don't want to expose, Jack, let me ask you, should Matt opine on this?
Yeah, Matt should recuse himself, I think, until after the property closes, then he'll no longer have an interest. So at that point in time, he could certainly participate in if there is redevelopment or rezoning or whatever. But at this point in time, I think he should recuse himself.
Okay, so Matt, sorry to cut you off there, but let's follow Jack's advice. I concur with everything that was said. It would be a dramatic improvement. It's a perfect rateable. It helps fulfill future COA obligations in a round that's not all that far away. And it does so in a way that benefits the community. One of the things we talk about regarding fair share housing is the potential increase in school age students. This obviously does not present that as an issue. So I think for all of those reasons, I'd like to recommend we proceed. And Jack, is that enough? What happens now?
I think there was a committee to have a subcommittee to have preliminary discussions with the developers. I think if you want to keep that committee going, maybe the best thing to do would be to have another committee meeting and, decide at that level how we're going forward, and we can keep the entire township committee apprised of what's going on. If you go the redevelopment route, as Jason said earlier, you'd have to adopt a resolution referring it to the planning board. So the planning board could determine whether or not it qualifies as an area in need of redevelopment.
Well, I guess one question of interest of both parties is we'd like to know what the rough estimate would be from a property tax perspective, because if it makes it a cleaner process not to need one, fine. I'm not against the concept.
For us too, as well. I mean, it's
right.
Candidly, an overlay zone is a much more direct route, and that's our preference as well. But the property taxes in New Jersey obviously loom large. It's something we compete with in every single town that we're basically doing work in right now. So our preference is like you. If the taxes come in line with what our budget shows, which again, we're not carrying a light number, we're carrying a heavy number. Yep. As long as it comes in line with that, then I see no need to go the redevelopment route.
To Matt's point, I'm sorry, Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, like I said earlier, mean, the one advantage to the redevelopment process is the town has much greater control over the final product. You know, when you have a zoning ordinance, you really can't control what the final product's gonna look like. You know, we've run into that in the past. Whereas if you have a redevelopment agreement, you get down, redevelopment agreement's kind of a combination zoning ordinance, site plan, development agreement. So
It's also, yeah, it's basically a contract that we would have with the town that we have to
Right.
live up to, obviously. So
there are pluses and minuses to both approaches, but we can work that through.
All right, first things first, we both need to have a concept from the tax assessor, what we're talking about.
yep.
So
Okay.
Jack, can I reach out to you? We could coordinate maybe the developer meeting with.
Absolutely,
Okay.
sure. Yep.
So at this point, if there are no questions or on either side, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. I think it was quite clear and well prepared, and your colleagues did a great job as well. So thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks.
for having us.
We appreciate it as well. Just to the council, if at any point you guys do want us to have community meetings, we're happy to do so. Happy to address any questions. We're pretty big on transparency. We do not like, we never want to be accused of trying to sneak something through. We want this to be out in the open and address concerns as they come up.
That's great to hear, and I think you'll find the same type of opinion from the committee itself. We don't hide anything.
No, we very much want to be out in the open and solicit feedback and try to mitigate any kind of concerns if there are any.
That's perfect. So again, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Right.
You
Thanks.
as well. Okay, so at this point, I think we go on to the ordinances. Ordinance 470-21, this is first reading introduction. It's an ordinance concerning street openings and amending chapter 20 of the Township Code entitled Streets and Sidewalks, as previously amended by 470-21. Jack, did you want to give a brief?
Yes, we recently amended the street opening ordinance to put the Public Works Director in charge of monitoring street openings, and also to require that if permission is granted to an applicant to open a street during the first 5 years, they have to repair the street using the infrared process. I'm not sure the technical term. But Paul Ferraro, the township engineer, has asked for discretion to require that in cases of roads that were improved more than 5 years ago that are in good condition. So all this ordinance does is add that new provision to ordinance 470-21.
Jack, is there a subjectiveness to this that?
There is some subjectiveness to it, but I think it's probably a reasonable thing. 5 years is probably an arbitrary cutoff date too. And, you know, we've always required, Paul actually interprets the current ordinance, I think, to say that he's got that authority because it requires that the road be restored to the satisfaction of the township engineer. So, you know, I think it's enforceable, and I think most developers will cooperate.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack. So Brendan, anything more? Questions, comments?
Nope, I'm good.
Scott, Vic, Matt?
Nope.
All right, so this is ordinance 47-21 will be considered for final passage and adoption at Township Public Hearing on Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. At that point, it would be opened up to the public for comments and questions. This
You
was,
need to have the
ahead.
motion and the second first in
Yes.
order for it to go to the second reading.
I thought we agreed last meeting I was grand high exalted ruler.
That was only for the last meeting, not this meeting.
Oh, darn.
So
Okay.
moved.
Second.
Megan?
Committeeman Dorsey,
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia.
All right, yes. All right, ordinance 473-21. This is also first reading introduction. calendar year 2021 ordinance to exceed municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. I didn't know if anybody from our auditor was going to be here. And Jack, you can fill in the blanks, but it sounds scary. This is a formality. It goes into all budgets. This committee is not going to exceed anything. The cap bank, which is referenced here, is set up by state statute. All towns have it. Long Hill has never used the cap bank, at least at the municipal committee level. And as long as I'm around, we never will. So, well, that's, look, that I made myself sound like an exalted ruler there.
I have nothing to add to your explanation, though. You're right. We do this every year. It's really just housekeeping.
Yeah. That really sounded like that read my lips from George Bush.
I would never vote to use the cap bank, and my experience with my august committee members over the years has been nobody has ever voted to use the cap bank. So
we've never used it.
This is really, what did you call it, housekeeping?
Yes.
All right.
We've never used it. We do it every year, just in case there's a catastrophe.
All right. So at this point, any questions, comments from?
I think you made enough.
That didn't sound like a compliment. Okay, so this time, can I have a motion to pass ordinance 473-21 on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Megan?
Committeeman Dorsey,
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia.
Yes. And so it's will be considered for final passage and adoption at public hearing at a public hearing on Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, just as the previous ordinance. Carrying on, we've got item number 6 for those following at home. This is 21-099. It's the introduction of the 2021 municipal budget. Any questions, comments from the committee? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve resolution 21-099?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, or Megan, that's you?
No, roll call, please.
Roll call. Committeeman Dorsey,
Yes, yes, yes.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia.
Yes, and Matt voted 3 times, so let the record show that it passed 7-0. That's a joke for anybody listening at home. Not a very.
Just for
good
the
one.
record, although it's designated as a resolution, the process is really the same as an ordinance. So this is equivalent to the
Right.
introduction of an ordinance. There will be a public hearing. When's the public hearing? In a
May
month?
12th.
May 12th, at which time there'll be a public hearing, the same as second reading of an ordinance.
Right. So questions, comments can be addressed at that.
May 12th, correct.
Fair enough. All right, let's carry on to the consent agenda, 21-100, 21-113. Questions, comments, anybody need to recuse themselves on the committee? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey,
Yes, one time.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray,
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia.
Yes. Liaison reports. We stuck Brendan first originally, so why don't we go the other way? Matt, we can start with you.
Do you want to do the exchange report, or you want me to do it? 'Cause I have to pull it up.
If you're starting off, I know we just received it. If you have it open, would you mind doing it?
Yeah, I could skim it though. I can do DPW first. One, please recycle. It's going well. Keep it up, and congratulate firefighter Wanamaker, who with help with the Girl Scouts filled up the the tin can or aluminum can trailer again. So I made another nice donation to the burn unit at St. Barnabas. So please, now it's getting nice out. You're having some parties outside. Please recycle your aluminum down to the DPW. It goes to a good cause. As to the DPW, they are already busy delivering mulch. So please call and schedule your mulch. The mulch times are filling up. They deliver on Mondays and Fridays. So please call and schedule your deliveries. Please, this is a problem we have with not the problem, but if there's an issue with the garbage or recycling, please remember it's two different carriers. Morris County is the recycling, and who's our garbage people?
Grand Sanitation.
Yes, Grand. So if you have an issue with garbage, please call Grand. If you have an issue with the recycling, please call Morris County Recycling. I think cross calls were coming, so people would just call one for both issues, and obviously it's not. So just be cognizant of who picks up what before you make your call. And trust me, if the stuff's out there, it's going to get picked up, people. It's garbage. That's why it's out there to begin with. So if it's still there at 8 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning, they'll come and get it. So just relax. The street sweeper's been out, so keep an eye for that. You might notice it in the gutters. So that's looking good. The Sterling Lake is all cleaned up already. So check that out. And the lawn cutting has begun. Now, as to the OEM report, Guy, do you have a chance to flip through that or not?
I didn't because I was doing the exec earlier.
All right, well,
I can open it up or.
no. The OEM and the MRC reps or volunteers, actually, and they're all volunteers, have been in touch with the homebound residents and their caregivers, and will continue to keep them apprised. They have a very good list of who's homebound and who needs help. So they've been in contact with them. COVID-19 testing clinic. There's one tomorrow at 9 a.m. Just an attached flyer that I have to look at now. I think it's in Bernards Township. So if you need a COVID test, you can go over to the Bernards Township Community Center on South Maple Avenue. I believe it's free. Just call and schedule a time. What else do we have? Vaccinate Clinics using, obviously any clinics using the Johnson & Johnson are on pause right now. And it's not us, but the state and the feds are working to get surge different levels, different vaccines into New Jersey and the other states so they can fill the void. So just be patient. I know people that were supposed to get their J&J vaccine Tuesday and got canceled. And I think that's it. Even more important, the CERT members have been distributing flyers in Spanish and English, and more important for the Spanish-speaking community, to local businesses, churches, and organizations, and to some community members who obviously are fluent in English and have a lot of contacts. And the other things, they want to partner with the business owners who might have a lot of Spanish-speaking employees. So, and help them get informed about how to get the tests or get vaccinations, because a lot of the stuff's in English and they just obviously can't understand it to get it done. I also am familiar with people in Sterling that have been talking to the Spanish-speaking residents, and I got a good report today. She actually changed the mind of several people who have already been vaccinated or signed up from vaccinating. So Liliana, thank you very much for your help with the community. And we'll get you some flyers too. So if you know any people that speak Spanish and need some help, please contact the OEM and we'll make sure to help them with a flyer, or we can get them contacted with the right people. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vic, we'll go with that direction.
All right, I'm ready to go. Police Liaison report for April 14th, 2021. Our self-initiated activity and calls for service year to date, 5,874. Motor vehicle stops year to date, 357. Community policing and proactive residential radar posts, 609. Arrest incidents year to date are 8, and actual subjects, both adult and juvenile, that were arrested are at 11. Major incidents to report. We had 2 residents of Millington, both of the same household, that notified police on March 11th, 2021, that they were victims of an armed robbery that had occurred on March 8th, 2021. The police investigation yielded an arrest on March 26, 2021. A suspect was arrested and charged with a multitude of charges that included robbery, unlawful possession of a weapon, theft, and criminal mischief. The suspect was processed and lodged at the Morris County Correctional Facility pending court proceedings. And please remember, all suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Special requests: on the heels of some beautiful spring weather, many of our residents of surrounding towns have taken advantage of our amenities offered at our beautiful Cantor Park. With that has come an increase in complaints regarding littering, dogs off the leash, and especially dog owners not cleaning up after their dogs. While using our parks, we urge you to adhere to all ordinances so we can all have a pleasant experience. Please note that officers will be stopping by at Cantor Field to engage in some community policing activities and address any of our concerns. Also, please join the Long Hill PBA number 322 at Sterling Lake for the annual Trout Fishing Derby on Saturday, April 17th, 2021, from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. Good fishing, good food, and good times for all. COVID precautions and guidelines do apply. And that concludes our police liaison report for April 14th, 2021. Thank you.
That's great, Vic. Hey, Scott, try to follow that one.
All right, I'll give it to you. I'm going to share my
Killing
screen, Vic. So Peter Cottontail. Peter Cottontail on Saturday, April 3rd was at the parking lot at Town Hall. Many thanks to our Long Hill police officers who were there, stopping during the day to greet the families. It was an interesting picture that came. It looks like they were putting the cuffs on Peter here, but I think they let him off the hook, Vic. So that's one less statistic for you. Other things going on: gentle yoga in the park, Tuesday and Thursday next week. Next Tuesday and Thursday mornings, beginning on the 22nd. There's still spots available. You can sign up on the rec page on the Long Hill website. Virtual babysitting classes for students 6 through 12 are still being offered. Saturdays, April 24th, May 8th, and June 5th. There's still spots available in that as well. Memorial Day. Everybody in town is asking about Memorial Day and what are our intentions for that. So currently at the moment, we're planning a vehicle-only parade followed by an observance on the front lawn at Central School on Monday, May 31st. We'll play it a little bit by ear as we get closer. We want to stay consistent with the governor's executive orders and the Department of Health guidelines. But we'll talk more about that as we get closer. Also, and I think, Guy, we're talking about this later, the fee schedule being submitted for consideration for 2021 at Sterling Lake. The anticipation right now is that the facility will open for Memorial Day weekend with restrictions in place similar to what we had last year. And pending approval of the fee schedule, registration should be beginning soon. And as Vic mentioned, the Long Hill PBA is hosting that annual Kids Fishing Derby at the Sterling Lake this Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1. So open to all children, grades pre-K to grade 5, and it's free, no registration necessary. Thank you very much.
All right, well done. I rate that a tie, Vic. So you're gonna have to bring the big game next time. Brendan?
I can't follow any of those two up. No report.
Well played, smart man. So I'll just be very quick. Once again, to thank all the volunteers that are helping residents throughout this pandemic. They have been doing it from the beginning. So a big heartfelt thank you to all of you. This is not so much an announcement as just something from my heart. I want to thank the police. You saw all the things they do. We see you. We thank you. We get complaints about a lot of things in town, whether it's garbage at Cantor or whatever. I never get a complaint, only praise for the police. This is a challenging time, and you represent this township so well. So I just want to, on behalf of the committee and the residents of Long Hill, say thank you. Couple of announcements. Since we already went into the PBA, why don't we just dovetail the announcement part here. Elks has a town-wide garage sale set for May 1, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's May 1st, Saturday, 8 to 3. You can sign up, $25, gets you to have a spot on the map. You can reach out to our dear friend Kelly Mazzacci. I don't know if we put that on the website. I don't know. I mean, I can read the number here, but I don't know if that's helpful. But just reach out to Kelly at the Elks. And I'd like to point out the money raised at this event go to the Sterling Elks charities, such as veterans, which they do such a phenomenal job with, and special needs children, which they also do a phenomenal job with. So thank you there. Shredding Day, May 8th at the library. That's also a Saturday, I believe. Does anybody have a map open? Is May 8th a Saturday? Yep. 10 to 2 p.m. That is also a fundraiser. This is a fundraiser for the library. And it's a time to get rid of all those incriminating documents. So make sure you bring it there. There's a tree planting at Cantor on Arbor Day. I forget, or Earth Day. I apologize. It's Earth Day. I wish I had the calendar in front of me. This is a conjunction with JCP&L. They've donated a bunch of trees to the township, and we're going to plant them at Cantor Park, roughly 12 p.m. Memorial Day was already covered.
Earth
And this
Day
is
is April 22nd, Mayor.
Thank you. April 22nd.
And
That's
Arbor
correct.
Day is April 30th.
All right, so forget Arbor Day. Earth Day is when we're doing it. And this is like a general PSA. There's a severe blood shortage going on. For all those out there that like to or are willing to donate blood, please reach out to any area blood drive. You can find it on the New York City blood.org, or I think it's nycblood.org. There's a shortage, so if you're eligible and you can do so, please reach out to them and donate blood. Okay, Nancy.
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to bring up that we are organizing World Cleanup Day. We had originally talked about doing Clean Communities Day in conjunction with Earth Day, but considering, the COVID is still an issue, we decided to put it off until September. September 18th is World Cleanup Day. Last year, 11 million people over 166 countries got together on that day to clean up their own areas. So we're going to start right in Long Hill, and we're going to be putting out posters and brochures and notifications to let everybody know how they can sign up by visiting our website. We're hoping to get some groups together to, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Little League, and residents. I know that there has been some recent talk about how there are sections of town where there's a lot of litter, and it's the perfect opportunity to bring some light to it, so people recognize that they can't litter all over all over town. There will be free t-shirts and lunch, and a good opportunity for everybody to get out there and start cleaning up our town.
That's a
We'll
great,
have good weather in September.
that's a great idea. I forget who came up with the idea, probably you, Nancy. So I think I speak for everyone. We look forward to that.
I was actually prompted by, I got a complaint from a resident about litter along Long Hill Road. And Long Hill Road is one of the tough ones, and it is a county road, and they're going to be doing a cleanup in this month, the county. But it prompted me to, me and the DPW director to rejuvenate this, because apparently years ago you used to do it. So
That's great.
It's just how those things get started,
Okay, is that it?
That is all I have.
All right, so item number 10 on your scorecard. This is something we started talking about, I think, a couple of meetings back regarding a lot of the trees and brush that had to be removed along Valley Road at Cantor. A lot of them were ash trees. They had died or were dying. But the concern was brought up that there needs to be a screen there. And then upon visiting the park with both Nancy and DPW Director Al Gallo, Al was kind enough to point out that there's a bunch of bushes internally along, especially the north part, so the grass field. So a lot of these bushes have died and they need to be replaced. So I think there's a lot of aesthetics that needs to be done in addition to that screening. So I think that's why it's listed here as a discussion item. What type of tree? Whatever makes sense. I did broach the idea that perhaps the township should hire a landscape architect or a volunteer. We have some in town. Maybe they can volunteer their time. So we do it right. So the screen is done right. So the appropriate tree is chosen. So the appropriate bushes are chosen, and location. Like some cases, I think Al pointed out that he doesn't think, even if we were to replant the bushes in that location or those locations, it wouldn't make it anyway. So I think we should try to do this the right way. And that's what I say on this. But now, if I could, I'll open it up to the committee. I see Vic, honestly, this you kickstarted this some time back, that you thought, even though Cantor is probably the most beloved open space in town, it had started to show its age and it needed a little TLC. And I think this is part of that. So Vic, if you want to take the mic.
Oh, yeah. I actually have a few ideas. I don't know if they're realistic, but I actually have a lot of experience in, I worked for a landscaper since high school. I would be willing to volunteer my time. Maybe we could all meet down there and come up with some ideas, but also there's a few great nurseries in town. If we were thinking about purchasing anything from them, I have a feeling they might have a landscape architect that might be available to give us some ideas if we were to purchase the trees from them locally. But my suggestion is echoes the point you made. I think between Town Hall and the end or beginning of Cantor Park on Valley there, I think that's a critical strip of land. It's a main thoroughfare, and we want to make sure that we put the right trees and shrubs that'll provide some sound and maybe some noise blanketing to the neighbors. And yet make that strip look beautiful from both the street and inside the park.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I don't know if any other committee members want to join in here. I think we had a consensus, something needs to be done. And then what Vic pointed out there, I think it's now extended there. If we're going to do it, let's do it right in one go. There are areas next to Town Hall and in front of Town Hall where some trees are dying or are, with the best of intentions, were perhaps planted in the wrong location. Maybe we can address those. And anything else, Vic, as you said, if we did a little tour there, you might see something that Brendan doesn't see, and Brendan might see something that Scott doesn't see. So.
I'm going to be there tomorrow, actually.
I mean, I'd be happy to join Vic on this if we're looking to put together.
Yeah. So actually, what I heard, Megan, is a subcommittee was just formed with Vic and Brendan being the leads on this. Is that okay with the committee? What did I hear wrong, Brendan?
I think
no, that's good. We can do it.
I would be okay with it.
Wait till you see what you get.
We don't want any. We said, trees that are or bushes that are appropriate. So trees here in America, we don't want anything from Scotland. You know, some of that, whatever,
No
whatever,
invasive
whatever, whatever,
species.
whatever that fake golf you play. What is that called? It doesn't have trees on it. It's links.
No heather, no heather, Brendan, no heather.
Mayor, you wanted to discuss using money from the Open Space Trust Fund to pay for the trees?
Right, Jack, can you opine on that? Is that an appropriate use of the open space trust fund?
I believe it is because it's not just maintenance, paper picking or mowing the grass. I think it's more in the nature of a capital improvement. So I think we could use open space trust fund money for that purpose.
All right, so Scott and Matt, I don't want to cut you off if you have any ideas about what could or should be done there. And then we can talk about exactly what Jack and Nancy just brought up. Would you be willing to use the open space trust fund to clean up and basically beautify Cantor? So, Matt?
That's what the money's for. So I'm not an arborist or a landscape architect, but that's what the money, I don't use it all on this project, but I agree with you. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. Especially with so many people coming in to use that park from out of town. I think it's a good focal point.
And I heard full support for Brendan and Vic forming that committee there.
Certainly for Vic.
Was PSE&G looking to plant some trees there? Did we have the Boy
JCP
Scouts with some dogwoods? Can we incorporate that into the plan?
JCP&L, and they have an arborist, and I think Nancy, they volunteer, but it's not a significant number, to be honest. So what you and Brendan will be working on and bringing back to the committee is far more extensive.
It would be nice, it'd be nice, Vic, is if you guys could bring back some pictures of the area of interest, so, we can look at it in the meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm sorry, how about I thought the Boy Scouts was a significant amount of dogwoods.
Yeah, but I think they're sapling type trees. What we're looking for, at least to provide that screen and noise protector, would be a little bit taller. Scott, I know you speak with Tommy Osmond. If somehow we can work in conjunction with him, and Jack, I think you had mentioned once before, there's the challenge there about the town providing funding for what ostensibly is an Eagle Scout project. I don't know where we cross a line, whether from the township's perspective or, Scott, you can speak to from the Eagle Scout. Is that circumventing the spirit of what an Eagle Scout project is?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, because they'll do fundraising to get funds for it, whether it comes from a municipality or private donations.
So Jack, actually, to Vic's point, I'd be more than, if we're going to use open space funds and an Eagle Scout project is in process, why not work with the young man?
I agree. It's on township property. So I think that's legitimate.
Mayor?
Yes.
Based on our conversation with Al from last week, the Shade Tree Commission is working with the Eagle Scouts. So I had told them that they were going to they should put his plants in the Hicks Tract, the Turtle Rock Park, and he already has sites at a couple of schools that he's working with. And so that was where, because you had said we were going to have JCP&L plant their dogwoods up on the hill.
Right.
And then we were going to do the screen for the rest of the trees.
And the shrubs and the side. Look, there's a lot of moving parts, and I think that's my fault. I complicate it by trying to combine JCP&L, the Eagle Scout project, and our project. But I think when we took a closer look, Vic, what we noticed is exactly what Matt said. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. And so any help is fine. But, I don't want to complicate anyone's life.
Vic, it sounds like we have a blank canvas and unlimited funds.
That's what I heard.
I think we can come up with something.
I'm meeting with Al tomorrow at Canterfield at the site. So I'll discuss with Al some of the moving parts. I have a feeling he's more on point with you and Nancy regarding the Boy Scouts and PSE&G, what we can do, what we can't do. And I'll get an initial report well before the next township committee meeting on what the plans are, and see, how everybody feels about it.
And Vic, that was a great idea you said. Obviously, we'd all like to use a local nursery. We've got several. And if they have somebody on staff that provides that kind of service, as long as we're working with them to use them. So kidding aside, Brendan, I know I'm teasing both of you. And I'll join you if you want, or if you can do it, visit those nurseries here in town. And it'd be good business for them, and it would be good for us as well.
Remember, we may have to get quotes depending on how much money we're talking about.
Yeah,
I suspect we'll be under the bid threshold, but we'd have to go more than one local nursery and get a quote.
I know of two.
Yep.
Is that sufficient, or does it have to
Yes.
be more than two?
No, two is sufficient under the law. People always say three, but it's actually only two.
Perfect. Am I correct in saying there's two local nurseries in town, one on Valley and one in the Great Swamp?
Yep, at least two, yeah.
I don't think there's any other technically in Long Hill other than those two.
Yeah, so you could, as long as you got two, you're okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
And depending, it may be, if it's under the quote threshold, you better one. And the landscape architect's the professional, so you don't have to get quotes or bid that if you go that route.
Perfect. I will begin the process with Al tomorrow.
And just for clarity's sake, I know Matt has already opined on it, as have I, to be honest. The Open Space Trust Fund as a source of funding, Scott, Brendan, Vic, how do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it.
I'm good.
Vic? All right, Nancy, I think we all have our assignments. And as always, I think I find myself to be quite brilliant. I come up with an idea and somehow my assignment is done. So I did well there, I think. Item number 11, if we can move on, old new business, we can combine it. Scott, we'll start with you if there's something.
Nothing at this time.
Brendan?
Nothing from me.
Nick?
Vic?
You're on mute, or you're on something. I don't know what it's called.
Say Nick or Vic?
I think I said Vic. Would you like to be called Nick?
I've got a bad connection, so I'm gonna turn off my video and ask my question under new business. I'd like to suggest that we begin a study, or we take the first steps towards the possibility of shared services between us and our school system. I believe that there's many areas that we could, save money. When I was first beginning my candidacy, Brendan came to me with some great ideas regarding shared services, and I'd like to think that this would be a great time for us to start to really look into them. As I told the story to you guys before, just recently I was exercising on Cantor. I took it onto Valley Road. I made it right onto the senior center, and I see a couple, sanitation containers, and 50 yards, on the property for the senior citizens facility. And then I see 50 yards away, two empty containers right here by the school system. And I thought, you know what? It would be nice if we could have some type of shared services agreements in town and start to look into them for plowing, lawn maintenance, even purchasing power. I bet if we put our heads together, we could probably figure out a lot of ways that the taxpayers could save money through our shared services right here in town with the Board of Education.
And Vic, this time I'm not just being coy. I think Scott is the liaison to the Board of Ed. And, this time I'm not just doing it to be funny. You and Brendan were both members of the school board. So you understand the school budget, I think, better than, and Brendan for that. So I don't know how you wanted to proceed. Would you want to approach somebody at the school and perhaps meet with them, with Scott? Like, what are you recommending?
I'm thinking maybe Mr. Pigeon could give us some recommendations that maybe there are some legalities there. Do we have carte blanche to just go into a meeting or approach the superintendent?
Yeah, but there's no restriction in that way. I mean, I wouldn't do it one of their public meetings. I would have somebody contact the superintendent to open the
Perfect.
discussions.
Or the superintendent and the business administrator, maybe?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't mean to limit it to the super.
I'm fine with making that phone call or having, Scott or somebody else make that call, whoever wants to make that call. But I definitely think it's about time that call be made.
And the context, of course, is it's the Long Hill resident that pays both budgets. All we're trying to do is to save money on both sides of the equation, both for the schools and for the municipal budget. And hopefully the people that benefit are the ones that pay the bill, which are the taxpayers.
Absolutely. So do we agree now who's going to make that call and get the ball rolling, or?
Scott, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, Vic, why don't you and I talk and, we'll figure out how we're going to approach it.
That would be awesome. I look forward to that.
Great, Vic. Thanks for reminding us of that. And thank you, Scott. Where do we go? Let's go, Brendan. I'll go to my left. Old and new.
No, nothing from me.
Yeah, any old and new, we don't have to go in order.
Yep.
Anybody have old and new business? Hearing none. I think we did the announcements unless somebody came up with something that we forgot earlier.
Right. Are the appointments off? Do I have an?
Oh, no, that's up. Thank you. Thank you, Jack. You could have done it a little more subtly without pointing out that I failed.
I wasn't sure. I thought maybe there was a later addition to the agenda that had removed it for some reason, so.
All right, okay, the mayor messed up there.
That's why I'm here.
The Township Committee, all right, so Board of Adjustment, what we have is a resignation, but not really a resignation. We have Scott Hain, who is alternate 2, is going to resign as alternate 2. And what I'm recommending is that we appoint, because this is, I think, a Township Committee
Yes.
vote here. So Scott Hain would resign as alt 1 and will be appointed to alt 2 to a 2-year unexpired, which
No,
now,
reverse. He's resigning as alt 2. He's being appointed as alternate 1.
right, okay. And that term would expire December 31st, 2022.
2.
And Miss Jill Robertson, so welcome aboard. She would be appointed as alt 2 to the unexpired 2-year term that expires December 31st, 2021.
Yes, and you're also accepting Mike Pesci's resignation.
Oh,
from the
gee,
Board of
yeah.
Adjustment. But you can do it all in one motion.
Yeah, and so Michael Pesci, like, because of some personal job concerns, he's my dear friend as well, and he's done such a phenomenal job on the Board of Adjustment over the years. He humbly asked if he could resign, and I think I can accept that, but I think the Township Committee has to accept that as well. So what we have are Scott Hain, Jill Robertson, and Mike Pesci's resignation. How do we do this? Just a voice vote there, Joe?
Just a motion, second,
What
and a
happened?
voice vote.
What happens if we don't accept it?
Well, we have some vacancies then. One vacancy.
Well, then, Brendan, you get another assignment. You become a member of the Board of Adjustment.
No, you can't. No member of the Township Committee can be on the
I
board.
think we established Grand High Exalted Ruler.
Sorry, I forgot.
So I'm still looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Can I do that, Jack?
Yes.
Right.
Aye.
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 No more snarky comments allowed from Deputy Mayor Ray for the rest of the meeting.
It's almost over.
Okay,
Maybe.
so here at this point, we're item number 13. The meeting's open to the public. Remarks and statements pertaining to any matter, anything that was discussed this evening, or anything that you'd like to bring up. Comments, questions, remarks. First, I will ask Megan, did we receive any written comments?
We did not, Mayor.
Thank you, Megan. So at this point, I'll turn it over to you, and if we've got anybody that would like to comment, the floor is theirs.
There is one person raising their hand, T Green. I'm going to unmute you. If you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Mr. Green,
Thank
you're
you.
on mute. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry.
Thank you for uncovering my pseudonym. This is Tom Grosskopf, and I am speaking not on behalf of the Board of Education nor the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Speaking on my own behalf, I am speaking to first the lovely clearing that is now present as you drive down Valley Road, and you can see the ball fields for Cantor Park on the left-hand side as you go west. I know there'll be shrubbery, and that's wonderful, great. But it is nice to see that the trees that needed to be cleared out were. Thank you, Mr. Veleza, and your work with Mr. Gallo. I also suggest there is a no entrance to this facility just past that, but you don't know what the facility is. So I think perhaps a sign on that building that's right there to say, this is Cantor Park, please do not drive here, would be helpful. And that's
Actually,
one
Tom,
item.
Tom, where's the building you're referring to? I'm not placing it in my mind.
Driving east to west on Valley Road, all right, where the trees were just cleared out last year.
Yes.
You'll as you go past, you'll see there's an emergency gate opening, which is usually open, and that's fine. But there's a building there. Doesn't say anything on it, and I think it would be. I think it would be.
The bathrooms in the storage building in the park.
I have no idea what they are. I've never used them. I didn't know that we even had bathrooms out there. But I think it would be nice to just say something, on a board that says, this is Cantor Park or Cantor Field, and please drive to the appropriate parking area. That could be it. That could be a sub sign, but just to mark it out, just so that we have a wonderful town, and a lot of people who live here don't know that we offer such great things. So that's one thing, and that's something I ask you to please take up in your thoughts. The other is, and I've learned this through going through some research with help from others regarding taped and or rebroadcast meetings, especially specifically official meetings such as the town meeting, that believe it or not, there are rules and regulations about them. We can't, I just thought it was great that we had them and we could rebroadcast them. So understand that. But there are rules around that and I'm going to ask Mr. Pigeon to opine at some point, and not necessarily tonight, that these meetings need to be closed captioned and handicapped accessible. Now, again, not necessarily without anybody asking for it, but again, I said again too many times, I apologize, but somebody will. I know that we have a new person who's joined the CAC, who's been with ESPN, and that's enough letters for that. We need to consider, I understand that we've upgraded our system or are in the midst of it. As we do this, we need to understand that we may need to buy a software package that will enable us to either at first broadcast or on rebroadcast and storage, enter verbal closed captioning. It's a federal law. It's an ADA thing. It's not me. I'm just putting it out there and warning the entire Township Committee that it may be a couple of bucks. It may be a lot of bucks, but we've got budget time coming. It's something to look at. I apologize that I have to bring this to you. I only found it by researching other information. And as you know, I am on the Board of Ed, and I did run on the one leg of my running was about transparency, as a lot of people do right now. And the Township Committee has kindly allowed the Board of Ed to use the courthouse and its recording systems, and for either of us to go forward and save our meetings, they need to be lawful and without reproach.
Tom, if I could, I'd like to turn this over to Jack at this point. The Township Committee, as you know, has been broadcasting its meetings since, 2007, 2008, along with the Planning Board and the Board of Adjustment. Maybe
Absolutely.
5 years back or so, we started, and they were always rebroadcast at scheduled times. And then about 5 years back, give or take, within 24 hours of any of those meetings, they've been posted on the Township website. And Megan, I don't know how far back we go, but those links stay there for, for posterity. So, it's never been said to me that we are in violation. If anything, I think the residents have always been appreciative of it. So from a legal perspective, Jack, can you opine?
Yeah, I think Tom's probably right. I think it's a good idea. When we first went to Zoom meetings, it was because of the pandemic, and none of us imagined we'd be 14 months into Zoom meetings. You may recall we just recently had to add hearing assistance to our live meetings because we had some complaints that people weren't able to hear. So it's certainly something we should look into, and it may be required by the ADA. I don't think we have to go back and do all 15 years of prior meetings. And I think we could probably provide a transcript to somebody, if we got a request in the meantime.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, what I was looking at was, and I'm just beginning my quest, but they're called PEG meetings, and don't ask me what PEG means, but and at first blush, it asks for, groups making more than $3 million and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then the $3 million went back onto the town total revenue, which we, in our taxes, receive more than $3 million. It's a loop-de-loop. When you start to look at it, it's a loop-de-loop. I don't know exactly where we stand.
And Tom, I hear what you're saying, but I want to make sure I draw a line, and this is really a legal question again. I don't think there's any limitation on broadcasting meetings live.
I agree.
So let's be clear on that point. There's nothing to preclude anybody, not anybody, from broadcasting their public meetings live. What I think we're discussing is the links that are being provided for future viewing. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And do they have software on their own sets to get closed captioning? You know, I'm not sure how it all works. I'll look into it and work with Nancy. But, you know, there's certainly been nothing from the state. They issued detailed guidelines as to what we had to do in order to have Zoom or similar type meetings. You know, there's never been any word about that. It's the first time I'm hearing, you know, the issue raised.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel better if we took this discussion off and looked into it a little bit more, because there may be some subtle nuances to whatever law is being discussed here.
Yeah, I don't want to commit us to doing something.
There's a couple of
may not be required or.
Yeah, there's a couple of different aspects here. Obviously, the legal thing, you know, if it's required. The equipment that we're currently upgrading to is capable of it. It has the right adapters. It's an additional cost to, you know, to implement it. So I think we need to see if we have to do it, what are the legal requirements? And then past that, what does it take to turn on the service and pay for it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lavender. I agree with you. I've looked around and I've found that some towns do it. Some towns don't do it. I know that there are federal laws around it. You know what? You usually don't get your hand slapped until you put it out.
Right. You know what?
But thanks for putting it on the watch list, Tom.
I think there's more sensitivity on it. I think there's more sensitivity from a Board of Ed perspective. You know, it is expensive and it is something that we have to talk about.
Right.
Yeah,
So I
think
agree with Brendan. I think this is a conversation. I'm sorry, Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Brendan's approach is the right one. We ought to look into this, not a public meeting.
Right. And that's exactly what I was just about to say. I agree with Brendan. And those are words that he's laughing already because that was just too easily set up. Those are words that don't often come out of my mouth.
Well, I think Brendan's on the Communication Advisory Committee. So this sounds like something for their,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yep, we can bring it.
So why don't we refer it to them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, good idea.
Now we'll see. So Tom, thank you. Any other topics or can we move on? Mr. Green?
Sure, let's talk about how great the weather is. And no, seriously, thank you very much for hearing me out tonight. And I look forward to seeing you all sometime in the fall in person, face to face.
Thank you, Mr. Green, AKA Tom Grosskopf.
No, you blew it. Ah, damn it.
All right. So Megan, any other hands? I'm looking. Let's give them a moment just in case. I think we're going to ignore Mr. Green. I don't see any. Again, I'll just give it a couple of seconds here. All right, so if there are no other comments or questions, perhaps we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, everybody have a nice evening, and more importantly, tomorrow I think it's going to be nice weather out, so get outside.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.